Welcome to World Information HD, your go-to source for the most fascinating and valuable treasures from around the globe. Today we're diving into one-of-a-kind pennies, the iconic Lincoln Memorial Penny, minted in the United States from 1959 to 2008. While most of these coins trade for just a few cents, a select handful command multi-million-dollar prices, thanks to ultra-rare errors, astonishing minting variants, and unbelievably good condition. From die doubles and misplaced mint marks to close AM reverses few have ever seen, each coin on our list has a story deeper than its 1 cent face value. Join us as we count down the top 10 most valuable rare Lincoln Memorial pennies, and see if you've ever held a potential fortune in your pocket change. Today, we dive deep into one of the most fascinating coins of the United States of America, the 1971 D Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, it might look like an ordinary old penny, the kind you'd find rolling under your couch or tucked away in a forgotten jar of change. But as we'll soon uncover, there's much more to this little copper coin than meets the eye. Some of these rare 1971 D Lincoln pennies have stunned collectors and auctioneers alike with their incredible worth, turning what seems like a single cent into a treasure worth thousands. So grab your magnifying glass, coin jar, and curiosity, because we're about to explore the fascinating story, minting secrets, errors, and hidden value of the 1971 D penny, and by the end, you might just rush to check your own collection. Let's start with a little history. The year was 1971, a year of cultural change and technological progress in the United States. The Vietnam War was still raging, Apollo missions were continuing humanity's journey to the moon, and coin collectors across America were already fascinated by the new designs and minting techniques of the Lincoln cent. Since 1909, the Lincoln penny has been one of the most iconic American coins, featuring the image of President Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner. By 1971, the Denver Mint was one of the busiest in the country, striking billions of Lincoln cents for everyday use. These coins were made primarily of copper, about 95% copper and 5% zinc, and carried the familiar D Mint mark, representing the Denver Mint. Now, here's where things get interesting. With such massive production numbers, the 1971 D penny doesn't seem rare at first glance. In fact, over 2.9 billion of them were minted that year. But as any serious coin collector knows, rarity isn't just about how many were made, it's about how many survived in pristine condition, and whether they contain errors or unique features that make them stand out from the rest. You see, during the minting process, mistakes sometimes happen. And when they do, they can create something collectors call error coins. These mistakes could include double strikes, off-center minting, die breaks, or even doubling on letters and numbers. Such errors turn ordinary coins into valuable collectibles, because each one is unique, a one-of-a-kind artifact born from an accident. Among the 1971 D Lincoln cents, there are some truly fascinating varieties. One of the most sought-after errors involves doubling on the obverse, the front side of the coin. In some rare cases, you can spot a doubling effect on the words, "In God We Trust, Liberty," or even on the date, 1971. When viewed under magnification, these doubled images look like shadowed outlines, almost as if the coin was struck twice slightly out of alignment. Collectors refer to this as a double die obverse, DDO, and such examples are highly prized. A genuine 1971 D penny with clear, visible doubling can fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars depending on its condition. But that's not the only thing that makes the 1971 D penny special. The condition, or grade, of the coin plays an enormous role in determining its worth. Coins are graded on a scale from good, meaning heavily worn and circulated, all the way up to mint state, or MS, which means the coin looks almost exactly as it did the moment it left the mint, sharp details, full luster, and no signs of wear. When it comes to the 1971 D penny, examples in mint state 67 or higher are extremely hard to find. Imagine billions of coins circulating through people's hands, vending machines, and cash registers. Only a handful escape into the world without a single scratch or fingerprint. Those few untouched pieces become treasures in the eyes of collectors. Even the color of the penny matters. Coin experts classify copper coins into three main color designations: brown, BN, red-brown, RB, and red, RD. The redder and shinier the coin, the more valuable it becomes. Over time, copper oxidizes and turns darker, so a penny that still retains its bright reddish-orange mint color after more than 50 years is incredibly rare. Now, let's talk about what makes some 1971D pennies so valuable. The secret lies in the combination of condition, rarity of errors, and collector demand. High-grade coins certified by professional grading services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, can command astonishing prices at auction. For instance, a perfectly preserved 1971D Lincoln cent graded MS67RD can sell for several $1,000s. And if it contains a rare minting error, such as a double die or a striking anomaly, that price can skyrocket even further. What's fascinating is that many of these rare and valuable coins are still out there, sitting unnoticed in jars, drawers, or inherited coin collections. Every year, stories emerge of people who find one of these hidden gems purely by chance. Someone cashes in old change, someone sorts through a box of pennies from decades ago, and suddenly, they realize they're holding a small piece of American minting history worth far more than a single cent. One such example involved a man in Colorado who, while going through his late grandfather's coin collection, stumbled upon a 1971D penny that looked unusually sharp. After sending it for grading, he discovered it was an MS67RD, a near-perfect example, and it later sold for thousands at auction. Stories like that fuel the excitement of coin collecting. It's a hobby that combines history, art, and luck in equal measure. And it reminds us that sometimes, the smallest things, even a 1-cent coin, can hold unimaginable value. So, how can you tell if your 1971D penny is special? Start by examining the coin under good lighting or using a magnifying glass. Check the date carefully. Make sure it's 1971 with the small D mint mark right below it. Then, look closely at the lettering on Liberty, In God We Trust, and the numbers and the date. Any doubling, distortion, or shadowing could be a sign of a rare error variety. Next, inspect the overall condition. If the details are sharp and the coin has a bright reddish color, it's worth considering professional grading. Coins that have been well preserved in coin holders or albums often fare much better than those that have been rolling around in pockets or jars for years. If you believe you've found a rare or high-grade example, don't clean it, ever. Cleaning a coin can drastically reduce its value. Instead, handle it carefully by the edges and seek advice from a reputable coin dealer or grading service. Many coin enthusiasts use the 1971D penny as a starting point for building a Lincoln cent collection. Because it's part of the long-running Lincoln Memorial Design Series, which ran from 1959 to 2008, it fits perfectly into any penny collector's timeline. Plus, it offers a perfect balance between accessibility and potential reward. Most 1971D pennies are worth face value, but a few extraordinary ones can change hands for life-changing sums. When you think about it, every coin carries its own story. The 1971D penny isn't just a piece of metal, it's a tiny artifact from a specific moment in American history, a moment captured in copper. It has passed through decades of economic changes, through the hands of countless people, and through time itself. Yet some of these humble cents have endured so well that they now represent a bridge between everyday life and historical treasure. So, before you spend that old penny, take a second look. You never know what secrets it might hold. Maybe it's a rare double die, or maybe it's an untouched red gem that's been hiding in plain sight for over 50 years. Coin collectors say that the thrill of the hunt is what makes this hobby so rewarding. And with coins like the 1971D Lincoln penny, that thrill is alive and well, because at any moment, you could discover that one-in-a-billion treasure sitting right in your own collection. And here's the most exciting part. The highest recorded sale price for a 1971D mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny reached an astonishing $41,266. In the world of coin collecting, few things capture the imagination quite like finding a rare and valuable coin in your pocket change. It's a thrill that connects ordinary people to history itself, A simple copper coin that once passed through the hands of countless Americans could today be worth a small fortune. And one coin that has sparked excitement among collectors for decades is the 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, this coin looks ordinary, just another brown penny bearing the familiar image of President Abraham Lincoln. But beneath its humble appearance lies a fascinating story of minting variations, production quirks, and collector passion. Many people have tossed away these coins without realizing that one rare variation of the 1971 no-mint mark penny could change their financial future. So, what makes this coin so special, and why are collectors willing to pay so much for it? Let's dive deep into the mystery, history, and value behind this intriguing little piece of American currency. The Lincoln cent has been in continuous production since 1909, originally created to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Over the decades, it's become an iconic part of American coinage, with millions of examples produced each year. But among those billions, a few stand out, coins that bear errors, variations, or unique details that turn them into valuable collectibles. The 1971 Lincoln penny was minted in two major locations, Philadelphia and Denver. Coins struck in Denver carry the small letter D beneath the date, while those made in Philadelphia bear no mint mark at all. Most 1971 no mint mark pennies are common and worth just 1 cent, maybe a few dollars in pristine uncirculated condition. However, some of these coins have small but dramatic differences that make them rare and highly valuable. To understand why, we need to look at how coins are made. When a coin is struck, the design is transferred from the die onto the metal blank. Over time, these dies wear down or are replaced. In 1971, the U.S. Mint used many dies that were hand-engraved, leading to subtle differences in lettering, spacing, and doubling effects. One of the most famous of these is known as the 1971 double die obverse penny, a coin where the design appears to be struck twice, resulting in doubled letters on the front. If you look closely at the words Liberty, or In God We Trust, or even the date 1971, and you see a shadow-like doubling effect, you might just be holding one of these valuable error coins. Collectors love doubled dies because they're clear, visible errors created at the mint, not something caused by damage or wear. And that's where the 1971 no-mint mark penny becomes truly special. While the Denver minted versions are fairly common, the Philadelphia minted ones without the mint mark, especially those showing doubling, are incredibly scarce. Most of these coins were struck in huge numbers for everyday circulation, but only a handful of double die examples were discovered. That scarcity is what drives their value. Now, what makes this coin even more fascinating is that it represents a snapshot of minting history. The early 1970s were a period of technological transition for the U.S. Mint. New machinery and procedures were being introduced to increase efficiency and reduce errors, yet this was precisely the era when some of the most famous double die coins were produced. For collectors, that adds an extra layer of intrigue. It's like owning a piece of the mint's experimental history. When you're searching for one of these rare pennies, pay close attention to the fine details. On a genuine double die, you'll notice distinct doubling in the motto, In God We Trust, particularly on the letters IN and G. The word Liberty often shows thick, shadowed letters, and even the numerals in the date 1971 can appear slightly overlapped. These visual clues are what separate a rare treasure from an ordinary penny. Condition also plays a huge role in determining value. A heavily worn 1971 penny, even with doubling, might only fetch a modest sum, while a pristine, uncirculated example could command thousands. Collectors grade coins using a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a flawless coin showing no marks under magnification. The higher the grade, the higher the value. But the real question that excites every viewer is, how much can this coin be worth today? Well, some examples of the 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln cent with strong doubling have shocked the collecting community when they appeared at auction. In high grades, these coins have sold for enormous sums, proving that even a small copper cent can hold immense value if it carries the right features. Imagine finding one of these in your old coin jar, a random penny that's been sitting unnoticed for years. That's what keeps collectors hunting, checking every detail under magnification, and examining each cent with curiosity. It's not just about money, it's about the thrill of discovery, the possibility that a small piece of everyday change could connect you to history and fortune all at once. If you're wondering where to look for these coins, start by checking your old jars, drawers, and coin rolls. Pennies from the early 1970s still circulate occasionally, and with a bit of luck, you might stumble upon one of these hidden gems. You don't need fancy equipment. A simple magnifying glass or a coin loop can help you spot the doubling effect. Lighting also matters. Tilt the coin slightly under a bright light and watch the letters for signs of doubled lines. Even if your coin doesn't have doubling, it could still have value if it's in exceptional condition. Coins that have been carefully preserved, perhaps pulled from circulation early and stored in protective holders, are prized by collectors. The original luster, color, and sharpness of the details make a huge difference in how much a coin is worth. Another reason these coins are so collectible is the emotional connection many people have with the Lincoln cent. It's a coin that represents honesty, history, and American spirit. For more than a century, it has carried Lincoln's image, reminding generations of the ideals he stood for. When you find a rare variation like the 1971 no-mint mark double die, you're not just finding a coin, you're uncovering a story that began decades ago, one that ties together craftsmanship, error, and chance. Many collectors today have made small fortunes by simply paying attention. Stories abound of people who found valuable pennies in old coffee cans or inherited collections. Some even discovered rare coins and bank rolls purchased for face value. Every great discovery starts with curiosity, and the 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln penny is one of those coins that continues to inspire that curiosity in both new and experienced collectors alike. It's also important to understand how the coin market works. Prices fluctuate based on demand, condition, and availability. As fewer high-quality examples remain in existence, the prices for those that do surface tend to climb. That's why numismatists, professional coin experts, often recommend holding on to rare coins or getting them graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. A certified grade not only verifies authenticity but can significantly boost value when you decide to sell. The beauty of coin collecting is that it bridges the gap between art, history, and economics. A small piece of copper, struck in 1971, carries with it the echoes of American history, the technology of the mint, the artistry of the engraver, and the simple yet powerful image of Abraham Lincoln, gazing forward with quiet dignity. Each coin tells a story, and some stories are more valuable than others. So, if you ever come across a 1971 penny without a mint mark, don't ignore it. Examine it closely, preserve it carefully, and consider having it appraised. You might just be holding a piece of American history that collectors dream of owning, because among the countless 1971 pennies that passed through millions of hands over the last 5 decades, a few hold a secret: a tiny doubling on the front, a minting quirk, a stroke of luck that turned an ordinary cent into a prized treasure, and one of those extraordinary coins, a 1971 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny in top condition, once sold for an astonishing $49,566. That's right, a simple penny, the kind we often overlook or leave lying on the sidewalk, could be worth more than some cars or even a year's salary. So the next time you pick up a penny, remember, it might not just be loose change. It might be a small piece of fortune waiting to be discovered. Imagine holding in your hand a tiny piece of American history, a simple, copper-toned Lincoln penny minted in 1973. At first glance, it looks just like any other cent you've ever spent or found rolling around at the bottom of a drawer. But what if I told you that some of these coins, the ones without a mint mark, could actually be worth thousands of dollars today? Hidden among billions of ordinary pennies lies a rare treasure, the 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin. To most people, the penny is just pocket change. It jingles quietly at the bottom of a purse or gets tossed into jars, forgotten for years. But to coin collectors, or numismatists as they're called, every tiny detail on a penny tells a story, from the luster of its copper surface to the faintest strike on Abraham Lincoln's face. And when a small mistake or variation occurs at the mint, that's where true value is born. Let's travel back to the year 1973, a time when gasoline was just a few cents a gallon, Richard Nixon was president, and copper coins were still an essential part of daily transactions. That year, the U.S. Mint produced hundreds of millions of Lincoln cents across three main facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most of the coins bore small mint marks, a D for Denver, an S for San Francisco, and coins from Philadelphia, as usual, carried no mint mark at all. But among these, certain Philadelphia issues would later turn out to have unique characteristics that made them extremely valuable. The 1973 Lincoln cent continues the long-running design introduced in 1909 to celebrate the centennial of Abraham Lincoln's birth. On the obverse, Lincoln's portrait faces right, engraved by Victor David Brenner. His initials, VDB, can still be found at the base of the bust, a subtle signature that reminds us of the man who gave life to this enduring design. On the reverse, the coin displays the image of the Lincoln Memorial, a symbol of honor and remembrance that appeared on cents from 1959 until 2008. Above the memorial are the bold words, "United States of America," beneath which sits the denomination, 1 cent. Between the two, we see the phrase, "E pluribus unum," Latin for, "out of many one." Now, what makes the 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln cent so interesting isn't simply its age. It's the combination of subtle differences, preservation, and minting quality that sets certain examples apart. Though most 1973 pennies were struck for circulation and spent into the economy, a small number were produced with extraordinary sharpness and precision. Some were struck on high-quality planchets meant for proof coins, while others escaped the mint with striking errors, doubled dies, or even color variations that make collectors' hearts race. The most common composition for the 1973 Lincoln penny is 95% copper and 5% zinc. Each coin weighs about 3.11 grams and has a diameter of 19 millimeters. However, it's the condition, or grade, that determines its fate. A coin graded good or fine might only be worth a few cents more than its face value, but when you step into higher grades, like mint state or proof, the story changes dramatically. A pristine, red-toned 1973 penny with a bright mirror-like finish and no mint mark can fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. Collectors often use magnifying glasses or microscopes to examine details that the naked eye can't see. They check Lincoln's hairline, the steps of the memorial, and even the thickness of the lettering. Any doubling, misalignment, or striking error can elevate an ordinary coin into a collector's dream. For instance, some 1973 no-mint mark pennies show signs of a double die on the obverse, especially visible in the words, "Liberty," and "In God We Trust." When this doubling is crisp and well-defined, the coin becomes highly desirable. Another factor that draws collectors is the original red luster. Copper, as we know, tarnishes over time, developing a brown patina. But a few coins have survived for decades without losing their original fiery glow, either because they were preserved in rolls, forgotten in bank bags, or kept in airtight containers. These red specimens, especially in top condition, can sell for astonishing prices. To truly appreciate how valuable these coins can become, let's consider the journey of one particular 1973 no-mint mark penny that surfaced during an estate sale. It looked flawless, bright, red, and full of life, even after half a century. Upon inspection, experts discovered it had been struck with exceptional sharpness, likely from fresh dies. It received a top-tier grading designation, placing it among the finest known examples in existence. When it hit the auction block, collectors from across the country went head-to-head, each hoping to claim the piece of numismatic history. The final hammer price stunned everyone in the room. Stories like this fuel the excitement among hobbyists and treasure hunters alike. You could be holding one of these valuable coins without even knowing it. Maybe it's sitting in a coffee tin of old change or tucked inside your childhood coin album. That's what makes the world of coin collecting so fascinating. Every cent has the potential to become a small fortune, waiting for the right pair of eyes to recognize its worth. Even casual collectors can benefit from checking their 1973 pennies carefully. Look for strong details in Lincoln's hair and coat, a well-struck memorial with visible steps, and that vivid red shine. Coins that appear dull, scratched, or worn are less valuable, but uncirculated coins, especially those pulled straight from mint sets, can bring substantial returns. Proof versions of the 1973 Lincoln cent were struck at the San Francisco Mint, bearing the S mark. These proof coins were never intended for circulation and usually feature mirror-like fields and frosted designs. But what sets the no-mint mark versions apart is their mystery and rarity in pristine condition. Since Philadelphia didn't place a mint mark on its coins that year, distinguishing an ordinary strike from a special one depends entirely on the quality of the strike and the preservation. Numismatists often describe the best examples as gems, glowing with coppery brilliance, free of blemishes, and radiating eye appeal. When certified by reputable grading companies such as PCGS or NGC, these coins can command thousands. Collectors value not just the rarity but also the story. The idea that a coin meant for everyday commerce could one day transcend its humble origins. Another interesting fact about the 1973 Lincoln penny is its place in the timeline of American coinage. Just a decade later, in 1982, the mint would switch from mostly copper to zinc-based cents due to rising metal costs. That means pennies from the early 1970s, especially those with their full copper composition, represent the end of an era, a time when the weight and feel of a penny truly meant something. Holding one is like holding a piece of American memory. So, what should you do if you find a 1973 no-mint mark penny? First, handle it carefully, preferably with gloves, to avoid skin oils that can tarnish the copper. Don't clean it. Cleaning can destroy a coin's numismatic value. Instead, store it in a protective case or holder. Then, if it looks particularly bright, detailed, or free from scratches, consider having it graded by a professional service. Even if it's not the rarest of the rare, you might be surprised by its value in today's market. Collectors and investors alike continue to search for these hidden gems, knowing that the next great discovery could be sitting in an unassuming pile of change. And every year, new record prices remind us that the world of coins is alive, thriving, and full of surprises. The 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny is more than a coin. It's a piece of history that has endured economic shifts, political changes, and the passage of time. It symbolizes the enduring value of craftsmanship, attention to detail, and the thrill of discovery. Somewhere out there, a collector's dream still lies buried in a jar of forgotten pennies, waiting for someone to notice its gleam under the light. And when that happens, when that one extraordinary 1973 penny is found in perfect, uncirculated condition, its worth might just shock you. Because one of these humble little copper coins, minted half a century ago with no mint mark, once sold for an astonishing $44,999. Welcome to World Information HD, your trusted channel for uncovering the hidden treasures of American coinage. Today, we're diving into a fascinating journey through time, metal, and mystery, the story of the United States of America 1980 mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. Now, you might be holding one right now in your palm, thinking it's just another ordinary copper-colored coin, a single cent barely worth its face value. But what if I told you that this little piece of metal, minted over 4 decades ago, could be worth more than you ever imagine? The 1980 Lincoln penny is more than just a coin, it's a piece of history, a symbol of America's evolution, and in some cases, a hidden fortune waiting to be discovered. Let's go back to the year 1980, a time when America was stepping into a new era. The country was changing fast, inflation was high, technology was advancing, and even the coins in our pockets were beginning to tell a different story. The Lincoln penny had already been around for over 70 years, first introduced in 1909 to honor the great President Abraham Lincoln. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, a revolutionary idea at the time. But by 1980, things had taken another turn. At the Denver Mint, located in the heart of Colorado, millions upon millions of these tiny copper coins rolled off the presses, each bearing that small but significant D mint mark right below the date. The Denver Mint was one of the busiest in the nation, producing coins that would soon circulate in every corner of America, from busy city streets to small rural towns. However, among these countless coins, some stood out, not because of how they looked at first glance, but because of what they held beneath the surface: minting errors, rare die varieties, and unique imperfections that collectors today are willing to pay thousands for. The 1980 Lincoln penny was minted during the transition from solid copper composition to copper-plated zinc, which would officially take place in 1982. This means that these 1980 pennies were still made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, giving them not just monetary, but historical significance. Each one of these copper cents has a tangible weight and feel that later pennies just don't have. Collectors often call these the last of the real copper Lincolns. But what truly makes some 1980 pennies special isn't just the metal, it's the mistake. During the minting process, small errors can occur that create coins vastly more valuable than their ordinary counterparts. One of the most famous types of errors in the 1980 penny comes from a double die obverse. Imagine the die, the metal stamp that imprints the design on the coin, accidentally shifting or striking the coin twice. The result? Lincoln's image, the lettering, or the date might appear slightly doubled. For trained eyes, this doubling is clear, especially around words like liberty or in God we trust. Collectors are obsessed with these details. To them, an error coin isn't a mistake, it's a masterpiece of chance. Each one is unique, and that uniqueness gives it incredible value. Then there's the off-center strike. In these cases, the coin wasn't perfectly aligned when struck, causing part of the design to be missing or shifted dramatically to one side. The more off-center it is, while still showing the full date and mint mark, the higher its value climbs. Another variety that has made headlines is the broad strike error, where the coin wasn't struck within the collar that usually holds it in place. This creates a coin that's slightly larger, flatter, and with an unusually wide rim. Again, it's a rare flaw that excites collectors, and we can't forget the die break error, a classic among Lincoln pennies. This occurs when a small die crack appears between the letters B and E in Liberty, forming what looks like an extra letter, I. These die varieties are quirky, charming, and collectible, and some 1980 pennies have them. Each of these varieties tells a story. Imagine the mint workers back in 1980, running massive presses at lightning speed, striking hundreds of coins per second. A slight misalignment, a crack in a die, a shift in pressure, that's all it took for a simple penny to become a rare collectible decades later. But rarity alone doesn't determine a coin's worth. Condition plays a crucial role. Collectors grade coins using a precise system that ranges from poor to mint state, MS. The higher the grade, the better the condition, and the higher the value. A well-circulated 1980 penny might only be worth its copper content, just a cent or two. But a pristine, uncirculated example, shining as if it just left the Denver Mint, can fetch astonishing prices. Coins graded MS65 or higher are the real treasures. Under magnification, their luster is flawless, the details sharp, and there are no scratches from circulation. These are the ones collectors hunt for, often paying hundreds or even thousands, depending on the coin's features. What's fascinating about the 1980 penny is how often people overlook it. Millions pass through cash registers, coin jars, and drawers every year without anyone realizing that one might be extraordinary. Many coin hunters today, known as roll hunters, search through boxes of pennies from banks, examining each one carefully, hoping to find that rare gem hiding among the ordinary. Imagine finding a 1980 penny with a clear double die or off-center strike in your pocket change. That little copper piece that most people wouldn't bend down to pick up could instead fund your next vacation, your dream collection, or even a piece of history to pass down generations. Collectors and investors alike are increasingly turning their attention to older Lincoln cents. The 1980s pennies are becoming more popular as people realize they represent the final era of true copper composition. And because so many were spent, worn, or melted over the years, finding a well-preserved one is becoming harder each day. There's also a deeper charm in these coins, a connection to American heritage. Each Lincoln penny serves as a tribute to one of the most iconic leaders in U.S. history, and each mint mark tells a story of where it was born. The D represents Denver, a mint known for its precision, yet even there, human error could create something wonderfully imperfect. So, next time you come across a 1980 D penny, don't just toss it into a jar. Look closely. Check the lettering, the rim, the date, the mint mark. Examine Lincoln's portrait under good light. You might just find a coin that stands out, one that collectors would love to have. Over the years, several lucky finders have reported selling rare versions of this penny for incredible amounts at auctions. Some went for hundreds, others for thousands, depending on the condition and uniqueness. And the excitement of discovering one is part of what keeps the coin collecting world alive, a blend of mystery, luck, and passion. For those new to collecting, the 1980 D Lincoln penny is a perfect starting point. It's accessible, historically significant, and potentially valuable. You can easily find them in circulation or at coin shows, and if you learn to recognize the right details, you might uncover a true treasure. The penny may seem small, but its impact on American history is enormous. It's a coin that has survived wars, recessions, and revolutions in design and material. And among them, the 1980 D holds a special place, a reminder of craftsmanship, chance, and the quiet beauty of something ordinary becoming extraordinary. So as you empty your wallet, clean out that old jar, or sort through your change, pay attention to those 1980 D pennies. Look for signs of doubling, broad striking, off-center minting, or that tiny die crack that forms a BIE. Because what looks like a common cent might be your key to a hidden fortune. And yes, as unbelievable as it sounds, some of the rarest and most pristine examples of the United States of America 1980 D mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny have been sold to collectors for an astounding $33,666. So check your coins, look closer, and you just might uncover one of these forgotten treasures hiding in plain sight. Stay tuned to World Information HD for more incredible stories about the coins that could change your life, 1 cent at a time. Have you ever looked at an old penny and wondered if it could secretly be worth thousands of dollars? You might think that something as common as a 1982 Lincoln 1-cent penny is just pocket change. But what if I told you that one tiny coin from that year, with no mint mark, could be hiding in plain sight and be worth more than you could ever imagine? Yes, the 1982 no mint mark Lincoln penny has shocked collectors around the world, and if you have one, you might be sitting on a small fortune without even knowing it. Let's take you back to the year 1982, a year of major change for the United States Mint and a turning point in the history of the Lincoln cent. For decades, the penny had been made mostly of copper. But in 1982, everything changed. The price of copper began to rise so high that the cost of making each penny was more than its actual face value. This forced the mint to rethink its composition. And so, in a quiet but monumental decision, they began transitioning the penny from being 95% copper to being mostly zinc, coated with a thin layer of copper. However, this switch didn't happen overnight. In fact, both copper and zinc pennies were minted throughout 1982, creating a fascinating mixture of varieties that have kept coin collectors busy ever since. There were small dates, large dates, Denver mint marks, and no mint mark coins, all of which can appear very similar at first glance. But one particular coin, the 1982 no mint mark Lincoln penny, has become a star among collectors. Why? Because not only does it carry historical significance, but some of these coins are incredibly rare, valuable, and mysterious. Now, to understand why the 1982 penny is so special, you first have to know that there were actually 7 different varieties made that year. The U.S. Mint produced 1982 large date copper, 1982 small date copper, 1982 D large date copper, 1982 D small date copper, 1982 large date zinc, 1982 small date zinc, 1982 D small date zinc. And here's where things get even more interesting. The D refers to coins minted in Denver, while coins without a mint mark were made in Philadelphia. But what's most mysterious is that in 1982, the Philadelphia Mint made both copper and zinc pennies with no mint mark, and some of them have become incredibly rare due to transitional errors. Imagine this. At a glance, all the 1982 pennies look nearly identical, but their metal composition makes all the difference. A copper penny weighs 3.11 grams, while a zinc one weighs 2.5 grams. This small difference in weight can mean the difference between a coin worth 1 cent and a coin worth thousands of dollars. Collectors discovered that during the transition, some of the dies meant for copper planchets were accidentally used on zinc ones, creating extremely scarce transitional error coins. These rare mistakes slipped through quality control and made it into circulation. Over time, these unusual 1982 no-mint mark Lincoln pennies became the hidden treasures that coin hunters dream about. If you want to check if your 1982 penny is valuable, the first thing you should do is weigh it using a precise scale. If it weighs 3.11 grams, it's copper. If it weighs 2.5 grams, it's zinc. But remember, the variety, whether it's small date or large date, also matters. On a small date penny, the 2 in 1982 has a smooth, even curve, and the top of the 8 and 2 line up perfectly. On a large date, the 2 looks thicker and the 8 sits slightly higher. Now, here's the exciting part. There have been discoveries of rare 1982 no-mint mark small date pennies struck on copper planchets that should have been zinc, making them worth thousands. These transitional errors are the ones collectors go crazy for, and they've fetched jaw-dropping prices at auction. It's worth noting that not every 1982 penny is valuable, but that's what makes the hunt so thrilling. Millions were minted, but only a handful have these special characteristics. The Philadelphia Mint alone produced hundreds of millions of coins that year. But just imagine, one of those ordinary-looking pennies might be the rare one that collectors have been searching for. Another reason why the 1982 penny attracts so much attention is because it symbolizes the end of an era. For over 70 years, the U.S. penny was made from nearly pure copper. That tradition ended in 1982, marking a new chapter in American coinage. The change from copper to zinc wasn't just about saving money. It represented a shift in the nation's economy and resources. So, when collectors find one of these transitional pieces, they're not just holding a rare coin, they're holding a piece of American history. Think about it. These coins passed through countless hands over the decades. They might have been used to buy candy in the 1980s, slipped into a savings jar, or left forgotten in an attic. Somewhere, in someone's old jar of pennies, there could be a small, unassuming coin that has the power to change their life. The 1982 no-mint mark penny is also one of the most studied coins in numismatic circles. Coin experts have analyzed die varieties, weight differences, metal content, and even surface details to identify genuine transitional errors from counterfeits. Because of its fame, this penny has inspired both excitement and caution among collectors. If you think you have one of these rare coins, it's always best to get it authenticated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. Their certification can make all the difference when it comes to selling it for its true value. So, how does such a simple coin become so valuable? The answer lies in rarity, demand, and historical significance. The fewer of these coins that exist, the higher collectors are willing to pay. Add to that the story behind the composition change, and you have the perfect combination for a coin that captures everyone's imagination. Collectors and treasure hunters all over the United States still go through old penny rolls, jars, and collections looking for the elusive 1982 no-mint mark small date copper penny. Some even go to estate sales or antique shops hoping to stumble upon one by chance. The idea that a 1-cent coin could be worth thousands drives their passion and curiosity. And let's not forget the thrill of discovery. Every collector dreams of that moment when they spot a subtle difference under the magnifying glass. The date that looks just right, the color that seems slightly off, the weight that's a little heavier than expected. It's in those tiny details where fortune hides. It's fascinating how a coin minted over 40 years ago still sparks excitement today. Most people would overlook it without a second thought, but for those who know what to look for, it represents opportunity. And it reminds us that sometimes, history hides in the smallest places, in the palm of your hand, in your pocket change, or in a dusty old drawer filled with forgotten coins. If you're wondering how to check your own coins, here's a quick tip. Get a digital scale and a magnifying glass. Sort through your 1982 pennies carefully. Separate the ones with no mint mark, and weigh each one. If you find one that's 3.11 grams and has the small date style, congratulations, you might be holding a rare and valuable treasure. Stories of people finding valuable coins in their pocket change are not just myths, they happen every year. In fact, collectors have shared stories online of discovering 1982 pennies that turned out to be extremely valuable. Some sold theirs to major auction houses and walked away with thousands of dollars in return. And now, as coin collecting continues to grow in popularity across the internet, more and more people are learning that everyday coins can be worth more than they ever dreamed. The 1982 penny, once considered an ordinary piece of currency, has become a legendary coin that continues to surprise and reward those who pay attention. So next time you come across a handful of change, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look. That one old penny could be your ticket to an incredible discovery. The secret might be right there in your pocket, waiting to be found. And if you ever happen to come across the 1982 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny in perfect condition, small date variety, and struck in copper, then you might just be holding a coin worth $21,647. Have you ever wondered if the loose change sitting in your pocket or that dusty jar of old coins could hold a hidden treasure? Well, today, we're diving deep into one of America's most fascinating coins, the 1985 mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. It's a coin that millions of people have handled without realizing that one of these could be worth thousands of dollars. Get ready, because what seems like an ordinary penny might just turn out to be a life-changing discovery. The 1985 Lincoln penny may not seem special at first glance. After all, billions were minted. But here's where things get interesting. Small variations, rare minting errors, and pristine condition examples have turned some of these humble copper-plated zinc coins into highly sought-after collectibles. So, before you toss your change into that coin jar, you might want to take a closer look, because hidden among them could be a coin worth more than you ever imagined. Let's start from the beginning, the story behind the 1985 penny. The D mint mark stands for the Denver Mint, one of the primary U.S. mints responsible for producing coins for everyday circulation. In 1985, the United States was minting billions of Lincoln cents, continuing a design tradition that began all the way back in 1909. This coin features the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side, designed by Victor David Brenner, a design that's been part of U.S. coinage for over a century. The reverse, of course, shows the Lincoln Memorial, a design introduced in 1959 to commemorate the 150th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. Now, at first glance, the 1985 penny seems like just another modern coin. But that's where collectors get it wrong. The magic lies not in how common it is, but in the condition, strike quality, and the presence of minting errors that make certain examples incredibly valuable. First, let's talk about composition. In 1985, the penny was made primarily from zinc, 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating. This was a shift from the pre-1982 pennies, which were made mostly of copper. The new zinc-based pennies were cheaper to produce, but they also corroded more easily. That means finding a 1985 penny in pristine, mint-state condition is surprisingly difficult, because over time, these coins often develop spots, discoloration, or even small pits in the metal surface. And this scarcity in condition is what drives collectors wild. While billions were minted, only a small fraction remain in gem-quality grades, those near-perfect coins that look like they just came off the minting press. When submitted to grading services like PCGS or NGC, coins that achieve a grade of MS67 or higher can fetch jaw-dropping prices. But what truly sets the 1985 penny apart is its minting anomalies and die varieties. You see, even though machines mint these coins with incredible precision, small imperfections in the dies can lead to fascinating variations. These include double die errors, off-center strikes, die cracks, and plating bubbles. Each of these adds a unique charm and rarity factor to the coin. One of the most famous varieties of the 1985 penny is the double die obverse. This happens when the coin die, The metal stamp that imprints the design shifts slightly between strikes, causing the details to appear doubled. On the 1985 D penny, this can sometimes be seen around Lincoln's eyes, the date, or the words, "In God We Trust." A sharp-eyed collector who spots this can find themselves holding a coin worth hundreds, or even thousands, of dollars depending on the clarity and prominence of the doubling. Another popular error is the off-center strike, where the coin's design is misaligned. Depending on how off-center it is, this can make the coin look quite strange, and very collectible. A 1985 D penny struck 10% off-center might fetch a decent premium, but one struck 50% or more off-center, especially if both the date and mint mark are still visible, can sell for hundreds of dollars to the right buyer. Then there's the broad strike error, where the coin wasn't properly contained within its retaining collar during minting, causing it to expand slightly and lose its perfectly round shape. These broad strikes, especially in high grade, are another sought-after variation among error collectors. But perhaps the most curious of all are plating errors, a direct result of the penny's copper coating process. When the thin copper layer fails to fully cover the zinc core, it can cause exposed zinc spots, unusual patterns, or even half copper, half silver-like appearances. These minting mishaps create unique, one-of-a-kind coins that can command impressive values. So, how can you tell if you have a valuable 1985 D penny sitting in your pocket? The first step is simple: check the mint mark below the date on the front of the coin. If it has a clear, well-defined D, you're holding a Denver minted coin. Next, inspect the surface carefully under good lighting or with a magnifying glass. Look for doubling on the letters or date, off-center designs, or unusual coloring caused by plating issues. If your coin looks perfect, no scratches, spots, or wear, you might have what collectors call a mint state penny. The higher the grade, the higher the value. Coins graded MS65 or higher can fetch hundreds, while those in MS67 or above can reach into the thousands. Now, let's talk about the market demand. Even though 1985 pennies are relatively modern, collectors are increasingly turning their attention to these coins. As the older copper pennies become scarcer, newer zinc issues in pristine condition are gaining recognition. Error collectors, in particular, prize these coins for their quirks and unusual appearances. Many 1985 D pennies have sold in online auctions for surprisingly high prices. For instance, ordinary, uncirculated examples might sell for a few dollars, but once you enter the upper echelons of condition, the kind graded by professional services, you're looking at significant sums. One of the reasons collectors are fascinated by the 1985 D penny is its place in a transitional period of U.S. coinage. The early to mid-1980s were when the U.S. Mint was fine-tuning its process of minting zinc coins, leading to more frequent plating and striking errors. Each of these represents a tiny piece of minting history, and for coin enthusiasts, that's a story worth owning. So, where should you look if you want to find one? Start close to home. Go through old coin rolls, piggy banks, or even loose change lying around the house. Visit local coin shows, talk to collectors, and keep an eye on online auction platforms where rare mint error coins often pop up unexpectedly. You might be amazed at what you find. Now, you might be wondering, how do collectors determine the value of such coins? There are three key factors: rarity, condition, and demand. Rarity refers to how many such coins exist in collectible condition or with unique mint errors. Condition, or grade, is based on how well the coin has been preserved. A higher grade means fewer marks and more original shine. And demand depends on what collectors are currently looking for. Sometimes a particular error or die variety becomes popular, sending values soaring. Let's take a moment to appreciate the artistry of this penny as well. Victor David Brenner's portrait of Lincoln has stood the test of time. Every curve, every detail, from Lincoln's hair to his coat, tells a story of enduring design excellence. On the reverse, the Lincoln Memorial is finely detailed. If you look closely, you can even see the tiny statue of Lincoln seated inside, a feature many people overlook. The combination of classic design, historical context, and modern minting quirks makes the 1985 D penny one of the most fascinating coins of the late 20th century. It's a reminder that even in an age of mass production, Small imperfections and moments of craftsmanship can transform something ordinary into something extraordinary. And for those who dream of discovering a hidden treasure, this coin is living proof that you don't need to dig deep into ancient ruins or travel across oceans to find one. Sometimes, treasure lies right in your hands, disguised as a single penny. So, before you spend your next handful of change, take one last careful look at your pennies. That slightly shinier coin, that odd-colored one, or the one with a tiny minting mistake could be the difference between a single cent and a small fortune. Because yes, believe it or not, there are 1985 mint mark Lincoln 1-cent pennies that have been valued at an incredible $18,764. Imagine holding a simple copper coin in your hand, one that seems ordinary, worn, and perhaps a bit dirty from years of use. You might toss it in a jar or drop it into a vending machine without a second thought. But what if I told you that one such coin, a 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, could be worth thousands of dollars today? Yes, that small coin sitting in your pocket change could secretly be a rare treasure hiding in plain sight. Today, we are diving deep into the mysterious world of the 1998 Lincoln penny, its history, features, errors, and the surprising reasons why collectors across America are willing to pay a small fortune for it. The year 1998 marked a fascinating chapter in U.S. coinage. The United States Mint was producing billions of Lincoln cents each year, but hidden among the ordinary were coins with subtle differences that made them incredibly valuable to collectors. These weren't obvious mistakes. They were quiet anomalies that only the sharpest eyes could detect. The 1998 no-mint mark penny, minted in Philadelphia, is one such coin that's been causing quite a stir in the numismatic world. At first glance, the 1998 Lincoln penny looks just like any other cent, featuring the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. However, the true story of this coin lies in its details, in the craftsmanship, the minting process, and sometimes the smallest errors that escape the mint's quality control. These details can turn an everyday coin into a collector's dream. Let's go back to the beginning. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of Abraham Lincoln's birth. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin quickly became a staple of American currency and has remained in circulation for more than a century. The 1998 version belongs to the Lincoln Memorial series, which ran from 1959 until 2008. During this time, billions were struck each year, yet only a handful stand out for their rarity and potential worth. The 1998 penny without a mint mark was struck in Philadelphia. The lack of a mint mark simply means it was produced there, as Philadelphia traditionally did not use one on its cents. But not all 1998 pennies are created equal. Some have special characteristics or striking errors that make them unique. These may include double die errors, off-center strikes, die cracks, or even transitional planchet mistakes, all of which can add significant value. One of the most sought-after varieties among collectors is the 1998 wide AM penny. Most pennies from 1998 have the letters A and M in America very close together on the reverse side. This is called the close AM. However, a small batch accidentally used a reverse die intended for proof coins, creating a noticeable space between the A and the M, the wide AM. This minor design difference can turn an ordinary penny into a valuable collector's piece. So, how can you tell if your penny is the valuable one? It's quite simple but requires a careful eye. Flip your coin over to the side showing the Lincoln Memorial. Focus on the word America. If the space between the A and M is clearly visible, and the letters don't touch, you might just have the rare wide AM variety. Additionally, on the same coin, if you look closely at the initials, FG, near the right side of the Lincoln Memorial, they should appear crisp and bold. On the closed AM coins, these initials often appear faint or blended. Collectors love these tiny variations because they represent rare moments when human error or machine mix-ups slip past the mint's quality controls. A normal penny might be worth 1 cent, but a rare error coin can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. The reason is simple: rarity plus demand equals value. Over the years, These 1998 wide AM pennies have been found in circulation, often by chance. Imagine the thrill of realizing the coin you just received as change for a cup of coffee could be worth more than a stack of $100 bills. That excitement keeps collectors searching, checking every penny they come across. It's like a treasure hunt that never ends. But the wide AM isn't the only valuable variety of the 1998 Lincoln cent. Some 1998 pennies show striking errors caused during production. For example, some may be off-center, meaning part of the design is missing or pushed to the edge of the coin. Others may have double dies, where the design appears slightly duplicated due to a misalignment during striking. These kinds of coins are rare, and each one is unique. No two errors are exactly alike. The metal composition also plays a role in the penny's appeal. By 1998, the U.S. Mint had already switched from mostly copper coins to zinc ones coated with copper. These pennies contain about 97.5% zinc and 2.5% copper plating. Although lightweight and inexpensive to produce, these coins are more prone to wear and corrosion, which makes well-preserved examples especially desirable to collectors. Coins that have remained in mint state, meaning they show no signs of wear, often command high prices. Now, let's talk about grading, which is one of the most important aspects in determining a coin's value. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being a perfect, flawless specimen. A 1998 no-mint mark penny found in circulation might grade anywhere from 5 to 40, while a coin preserved in uncirculated condition could score between 60 and 70. The higher the grade, the higher the value. Professional coin grading services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Company, have authenticated and graded thousands of 1998 Lincoln pennies, and some of the highest graded examples have sold for staggering amounts. But the real fascination behind the 1998 Lincoln penny isn't just its value, it's the mystery and excitement of discovery. Think about it, millions of these coins are still out there, hidden in jars, drawers, and old wallets. Anyone could have one. That's what makes this story so captivating. The possibility that an ordinary penny could be worth thousands keeps people checking their change every day. Collectors often say that the beauty of coin collecting lies not only in the coins themselves but in the stories they tell. Every coin carries a piece of history, where it was made, how it traveled, and the era it represents. The 1998 Lincoln penny is a perfect example of this. It's more than just a coin, it's a tangible link to America's past, to the craftsmanship of the U.S. Mint, and to the stories of people who handled it before realizing its hidden worth. Another fascinating point is how modern technology has influenced coin collecting. With online marketplaces and auction sites, rare coins can now reach a global audience. A single 1998 wide AM penny discovered in loose change can spark bidding wars among collectors around the world. Websites like eBay and Heritage Auctions have seen countless listings for these coins, often fetching prices far beyond their face value. Even if your 1998 penny doesn't have a wide AM or an error, it's still worth keeping an eye on. As time passes, the number of well-preserved coins decreases, and even ordinary specimens can gain collectible value. The key is to protect them properly. Store them in coin holders or protective sleeves to prevent scratches and oxidation. There's also something magical about finding a coin that connects you to history. A penny minted over 2 decades ago might have passed through hundreds of hands. Perhaps it was used to buy candy in the late 90s, dropped on a gas station floor, or tucked away in someone's savings jar. Each coin tells a silent story of everyday American life, and when that story includes a hidden rarity, it becomes even more special. Imagine discovering that your small coin, forgotten at the bottom of an old drawer, is actually one of the rarest of its kind. That sense of discovery, of uncovering something valuable that most people overlook, is what drives the passion of collectors everywhere. So, the next time you come across a 1998 Lincoln penny with no mint mark, don't dismiss it as just another coin. Hold it up to the light, check the details carefully, and look for that subtle spacing between the A and M in America. You never know, you might be holding a small fortune between your fingers. In the world of coin collecting, knowledge truly is power. The more you learn, the more likely you are to spot these hidden gems in circulation. Always remember to examine your coins closely, keep your eyes open for unusual details, and most importantly, never underestimate the value of a simple penny, because sometimes the smallest treasures carry the greatest worth. And one such treasure, the United States of America 1998 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny, once sold for $13,466. Today, we journey deep into the fascinating world of rare coins, focusing on one that might be sitting quietly in your collection, or perhaps jingling in your wallet right now. The coin in question is none other than the United States of America 2001 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny. While at first glance it might seem like just another common copper-plated coin, this little piece of American currency carries a story, history, and potential worth that will leave you absolutely astonished. The year 2001 feels recent to many collectors, but it's now over 2 decades in the past, an era when the U.S. Mint continued producing billions of Lincoln cents each year. But among the flood of these modern coins, a few mysterious varieties emerged, coins that somehow defied normal minting expectations. These rare examples have captured the attention of collectors across the world, making the 2001 no-mint mark Lincoln penny one of the most intriguing small treasures of modern numismatics. Let's begin with what this coin truly represents. The Lincoln penny, originally introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth, is one of America's most beloved and longest-running coin designs. By 2001, the Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for 92 years, having seen numerous small changes in metal composition, minting processes, and designs. But the image of Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, remained a timeless tribute, his solemn profile symbolizing unity and resilience in American history. Now, most 2001 pennies you'll find in circulation were minted either in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. The Denver Mint coins have a small DE mark, while San Francisco coins usually carry an S, especially for proof issues. But here's where the story gets interesting: the no mint mark variety. A coin without a mint mark from 2001 generally indicates that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. However, certain rare examples have been discovered with peculiar traits, die errors, misstrikes, and unintentional variations that make them far from ordinary. These are the coins that spark curiosity and drive collectors into bidding wars. At first glance, you might think, how can something as ordinary as a 2001 penny be valuable? But numismatics, the study and collection of coins, thrives on rarity, condition, and historical anomalies. Every imperfection tells a story. For example, during the minting process, if the dies used to strike the coin become slightly misaligned, doubled, or damaged, the resulting coin becomes a rare error. And in the year 2001, several unusual errors were reported in Lincoln cents: double die obverse, broad strikes, off-center strikes, and even coins struck on foreign planchets meant for other denominations. Collectors and experts around the world began paying attention to these subtle differences. A penny that appears slightly thicker, has distorted lettering, or shows a faint doubling in the words, "In God We Trust," or "Liberty," can mean the difference between a 1-cent coin and a valuable collectible. These tiny imperfections, invisible to the casual eye, are what make the 2001 no-mint mark penny so fascinating. Another factor that significantly affects the coin's value is its condition. Grading plays a crucial role in numismatics. Coins are graded on a scale from poor P1 to perfect mint state, MS70. A 2001 Lincoln penny found in pristine, uncirculated condition, one that has never been handled, scratched, or worn, can be worth exponentially more than a circulated version. Collectors and grading institutions such as PCGS and NGC certify these coins, assigning them grades that can drastically influence their market value. Imagine finding a coin that's been sitting untouched for years, still shining like the day it left the mint. Such a find could be a treasure worth hundreds, or even thousands, depending on its rarity and preservation. This is why coin collectors invest time examining their coins under magnifiers, checking every detail of Lincoln's portrait, the lettering, and the famous Lincoln Memorial design on the reverse. Speaking of the reverse, It's worth remembering that the 2001 penny was among the last years to feature the classic Lincoln Memorial design before the mint transitioned to the new Lincoln Bicentennial and Shield reverses in later years. This makes it one of the final pieces of an era that lasted from 1959 to 2008, a 50-year tribute to one of America's most iconic monuments. The Lincoln Memorial design itself is rich with symbolism, and on many coins, if you look closely, you can even spot a tiny statue of Lincoln seated within the memorial, a testament to the mint's precision and artistry. For collectors, this connection to history, combined with the rarity of certain era types, adds both sentimental and financial value. Some of the most notable errors in the 2001 series include double die obverse varieties, where the date 2001 or the word Liberty appears slightly shadowed or doubled. Others include off-center strikes, where part of the design is missing or shifted, giving the coin an unusual, almost ghostly appearance. There are even rare instances of coins struck on improper metal planchets, such as zinc or bronze mixtures, or coins struck with filled dies, causing letters or details to fade mysteriously. Now, how can you tell if your 2001 penny is one of these rare types? The first step is to take a good look at the coin under bright light or with a magnifying glass. Check the edges for smoothness, look for doubled letters, and inspect the surface for unusual markings. If the coin looks unusually thick, thin, or off-center, it could be a minting error. The next step is to check the coin's luster and color. A shiny red tone usually indicates that the coin is in excellent condition, while dull brown shades mean it's been circulated. Coins graded as red or red-brown by professional graders are often worth far more than those graded as simply brown. Beyond condition, market trends and collector demand also influence a coin's value. As time passes, even modern coins can gain rarity due to attrition, many being lost, damaged, or melted down. The 2001 penny, though produced in massive numbers, is slowly becoming harder to find in mint state condition, especially with flawless surfaces or recognized errors. This scarcity pushes prices higher with every passing year. It's also important to understand that coin collecting isn't just about money, it's about preserving pieces of American heritage. Each Lincoln penny, regardless of year, tells a story of the time it was minted. In 2001, America was standing on the edge of great change, both economically and socially. The penny from that year carries the silent echoes of those days, the transitions, and the memories of a nation moving into a new century. For some collectors, that emotional and historical connection makes their coins priceless. Now, let's imagine the excitement of discovering such a treasure in your possession. You pick up a jar of pennies, perhaps from an old dresser or passed down from a family member, and among the dull, worn cents, one shines differently. You take a closer look. No mint mark, flawless shine, sharp details, and maybe even a subtle doubling on the date or lettering. The thrill builds as you realize you might be holding something far rarer than you thought. You check its grade, submit it to a professional grader, and then, confirmation. Your 2001 no mint mark Lincoln cent turns out to be a unique variety, perfectly preserved. When such coins appear at auctions, collectors from around the world often compete fiercely for ownership. The story, the rarity, and the history all contribute to their allure. Some auction houses have witnessed fierce bidding wars over Lincoln cents with rare minting errors, especially those from modern years, since they're much harder to find in exceptional condition. And while most common 2001 pennies will never be worth more than face value, the rarest examples, those with exceptional minting errors, proof-like qualities, or immaculate conditions, have achieved prices that astonish even seasoned collectors. Their true value lies in their rarity, condition, and the demand of passionate collectors who understand their hidden worth. So the next time you glance at your loose change, take a closer look before spending that penny. You might be holding a small piece of history, one that holds far more than just sentimental value. Coins like the 2001 no mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny remind us that even the smallest things in life can carry great worth, sometimes hidden right under our noses. And yes, There have been rare examples of the United States of America 2001 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent penny that have sold for an incredible $14,646.